thank you so much for staying there. You'll have to bear with me for one more panel. So now we have a new set of people. Again, established stalwarts in the industry. Mr. Prasad spoke about Mr. Venkat Jasti. Really admire his perseverance. I want to say this. Many years ago, when I used to work for CNBC, he was frantically filing patents for his CNS drug, right, sir? And the passion was so much that I actually was pushing my people at the back end to say that no, this needs to go as a flash. They'll say, it's a patent. Is there a price impact? I said, no, it's come from the heart. It's come from an innovator, and he is really, really at it, very determined. So great to see him. The entire journey is really worth a book. Again, Manni, I don't know, sir, when 25 years now, probably we know, and the build-up is is phenomenal. And that's where the respect comes from. And they really built from the scratch with the belief that they can actually make it happen. And of course, Sai Life Sciences again. Same story, again, very, very strong. When the listing happened, it was really, I think Sequoia must have really got a lot of TPG. Was it Sequoia or TPG? It was a TPG. Okay. So yeah, I mean, absolutely great journeys. So now we are actually talking about from innovation to impact, shaping India's resilient biopharma future. We heard about how biopharma is actually gaining traction, and small molecules is probably slowly going off. May not be entirely, but we are seeing a very, very clear shift happening, right? So, from you, Manni, how do you see this leap coming from a CRDMO standpoint? The R is becoming big, the D is becoming smaller. You've become a partner of choice for large companies. It's all kind of opening up in front of you.
Thanks. First of all, thank you for having me here. Thank you, Danaher, for setting this up. At least from my perspective, while I agree with the previous speaker, Prasad, that all the modalities are shifting towards more biologics. I think from an India perspective, I think small molecules will continue to remain very, very important, and some of us have already invested in biologics capabilities, but we continue to see a lot of interest from our customers, at least in the services space, CRDMO space, where they look at India as a leader in small molecules. And the reason Sai has the valuation it has is because of the amount of work they're doing on small molecules. And so I think small molecules will continue to stay very important, but I think it's also important to invest in the new modalities and start looking seriously at biologics, mAbs, bispecifics, monoclonal antibody, ADCs, and peptides and other modalities. So I think it's important, and some companies are investing in all of these. So I think slowly that reputation will build. Today, I think China has a much, much stronger reputation. And over time, that reputation will build for India as well. But today, I think in India, while you said biopharma and small molecules might go, but small molecules will stay pretty strong in the services sector in India.
Sir, your thoughts?
As you know, for the innovation, I mean, we're talking about the impact of the innovation and all. Because of people like us helping the big pharma, doing in a cost-effective manner and in a speedy manner, I think things are happening. That's the only thing. As Manni was saying, yes, things are going in the way globally for the biologics and all, but in India, we are still a small molecule country. Maybe specific to Reddy's, like Prasad said, it may be their 60-40, whatever it is, but it's a small molecule capability. That's what giving us the opportunity, and in the process, learning the ropes of the innovation. I think this is going to go. I think That is the valuation what we are bringing to the innovators and to our shareholders. I mean, by doing the cost effective, not going after the pure generic systems. That's what the innovation supply chain or R&D part of it, CRDMO or whatever it is. You can call so many names which we have crafted the cramps in the beginning. That
the words keep changing,
the word is changing. But these are the things that are going to there, and that will is the needed. I mean, because of the Trump's some of these activities, there is a little bit slowdown maybe. But by the end of the year, when the new budgets are coming in, I think things will move into the right direction, and we'll move on.
Right. Your view, sir?
Look, I think I have a little bit of a different take on biologics and I think
that's good. That makes a panel good.
I think where I look at biologics is, if you look at what is the hottest areas in biologics right now, let's just take a step back. Majority of the modalities are small molecule peptides, ADCs, oligonucleotides, and you buy trispecifics, right? If you look at, except for ADCs, 80% of the backbone is small molecule. So India actually has a much bigger role to play in biologics than I actually think we do. And also another part of biologics is very important. The ADCs are no longer the large volume ones. You're going to single-use technologies, large reactors, large investments no longer relevant. I don't think it's going to be that hard for, at least as a supplier, I'm not saying we're not in the biology yet, but I don't think we're that far off being a really credible player on majority of the biologics to a certain extent, because small molecule is a significant component of it. And also I think there is an inherent requirement that you need global diversity. And I think China is very powerful, but I think just as Europe and US have developed, you also understand the technology in biologics is changing dramatically, right? Take your titers. Instead of getting 1 gram per whatever capacity, you're going 10 times. So suddenly, the technologies are much more mature for us to get into. And I think India is going to be a much larger player in biologics than we think, at least on the services side. Innovation side also, if you look at it, our issue is not about what modality you're working on, it's about the translational biology. If you get the biology right, I don't think any modality matters. I think we will be more relevant than we think. So my belief is more positive. I think we are actually a better place than other people believe at this point.
So this is a little bit of a dichotomy in my view, because if your global pipeline is shifting to biologics and new modalities, and we keep learning about new things, how a particular disease is being treated, or the new research which has been coming out. I think something that I read very recently is about university research which detects pancreatic cancer through breath analysis. So some breathalyzer will actually give you some results about some lesions, some kind of a thing happening in pancreatic cancer. With that kind of a shift, are we really doing just incremental work and not really tuning in with the rest of the world? Is there some kind of a gap, Manni?
Yeah, so I think you're right. The modalities are shifting, but like I said, the rest of the world sees India more as a small molecule capability. And today we can look at all of the CRDMOs, listed CRDMOs, and what work they are doing, and you'll see that 90% of what they're doing is really small molecules. Now, there are companies, Syngene has done biologics quite well, and they're continue to do. We have just put up a biologics plant, and we think that will grow. So I agree that there is a potential for it, but today it's a hard sell to customers to come to India and use India as a biologics platform. There's a lot of complexities in biologics, right from developing the right cell lines to developing the molecular biology, which is not a capability that has been taught in Indian schools and colleges very well. Chemistry is taught in Indian colleges, BSc chemistry, we've done an analysis, there are about 65,000 BSc chemistry graduates in India. So chemistry is known, but biologics and biology is not that well known. But I do believe that there is a great opportunity in India. So obviously we've invested there. We believe that will be the future. So we definitely think it'll grow. But the way to do it, I think, and when you talk about innovation to impact, now one recent change that I've seen from the FDA, US FDA, is on the biosimilars. A biosimilar is very difficult to make. And the process of making a biosimilar is like making an innovative biologic.
Yes.
Except you know what the molecule is, but you have to get the exact parameters right. And sometimes people overshoot and make a better biologics, and that becomes a bio-better. But that's not accepted. It has to be a biosimilar. It has to be exactly similar to get the right parameters right. Now, Indian generic companies are seeing that the cost of developing biosimilar is going to go down dramatically because of this FDA regulation that you don't need to do a phase 3 trial going forward. Now, that's a huge incentive for many more companies to get into biosimilars. And if we can start innovating there and start developing biosimilars, I think it gives you a lot of potential, because the Indian generic companies can be, create an ecosystem, because they know how to make a generic. They can start making biosimilars. Now the cost of biosimilars is coming down, and even the services companies can partner with them and build many of these biosimilars out of India. And that can be a huge opportunity for India. And that's when you learn how to do novel biologics even better. And then it comes to the ADCs, etc., of how you can conjugate these drugs and make them, into the new modalities further. So I think there's a big opportunity because of some of this biosimilar changes, regulatory changes that are happening out there.
Because as you rightly said, yes, world is shifting towards the biologics on that side, and Krishna is right, and the opportunity is huge there, no doubt about it. The problem lies here is unlike small molecule, it is a time-consuming, costly affair. Funding is needed, and the regulatory requirements are also more. And all these makes people, old generation people like us, stay there where we are comfortable with. Where is my friend, young guy, so he can move fast into the biologics. And that's the way it comes in. When we retire in a few years, I think these guys will come in, and by that time, the biologics will be at a huge potential, and we'll be getting in there. But at the same time, we also need to move into the pure innovation. I think Prasad was saying, you're asking whether you can go into a generic company, can go into that. No, I don't think that is going to happen here. The reason is, why Reddy stopped? They are the first one to start. Why they stopped? Because the PBT is less, because you have to write off all the expenses. You may be making a ton of money, but at the same time, when you spend something and it will come down, your market cap goes down. So when they stopped this innovation, and their market cap has gone up by 10-fold in 2 years. That is what's happening. People, there is no risk capital here. Nobody wants to fund any innovation at this time. So the new kind of things that has to come in, I think now only there is a small change in the mindset of the investors sitting in Mumbai who are putting money into these things. Just started, let us do some 2-1% of their portfolio into the pure innovation. I mean, if you see, for the first time, for a 0 to 1 sum game in drug discovery activity, that too in CNS, I could raise $100 million in the last 3 months ago, because there's just some changes happening. So people will not start switch over from the generic to the innovation, but certainly the new, the startups and all those guys, with the funding that is available. Of course, government support is a must, which is a zero now. Made in India, make in India is a slogan, but they take out all the benefits that were existing before, like R&D, expenditure, write-offs and all that stuff. Even they don't give anything even for the patenting also, they don't pay any money. I mean, they don't allow any what do you call, the R&D expenses credit or anything like that. And it's more to say that we are doing things, and the regulator is very snail-paced, and we are very pessimistic. I can't do anything in India, only preclinical I do. Even the regulator talks, I have to go out, pay 3 times more money and get it done. Because speed is essence. 20 years is only the time period you have from day one. So see, these are some of the problems which we are facing, and nobody understands. And like Prasad said, when you go to a meeting, the people who are sitting there, they said, why you are doing CNS? CNS is 99% failure. Yeah, we're looking for that 1%.
Yeah,
That's
you've
what
said
all
that.
it is. You need to look at the positive way. People tell me you're crazy to run this business since 22 years. I still run as long as I can. I have money. That's all I
You
can
said
do.
that, right? In fact, you kept the more difficult part with you and kind of carved out the CDMO part with for Cohance. So that's again a very, very strong determination. Right. What keeps you going, sir? I mean, because again, the same questions come for you: ROIs, PBT,
No,
the
the
failure
question
rates.
is you have to tell upfront, this is a 0 to 1. When you're putting money into my company, you take that as a risk money. It's gone for good. That's what I'm doing. Until now, I could not go to the market. I had to put my own money. Even after selling the thing, I put on my own money only. Only this time, one of the friends suggested there is a change in the mindset of the the investors. Why can't you try? And I went there, and within a week it has happened. And everybody asking why you are not asking me later. But things are also changing, and see, we can't rely upon others forever, and we are living longer and having these old age problems, senility. I am also getting into that stage, right? So we need to have our own medications, and we need to discover and develop drugs. That's why we are persisting on that for the last 22 years. And but as you know, there is a 99% attrition in CNS because it does not have any quantitative measurements in the clinical trials. It's all qualitative. They are very difficult. And not only me, since 2002, there is no new drug discovered for cognition, as you know, and we are having trouble. And other CNS disorders, there is no cure per se in CNS. It's only quality of life improvement.
Yeah.
Since we are living longer, otherwise hale and healthy, we need to have that kind of stuff. As long, people will come into this.
There was a drug, a Biogen drug, which actually got approved, and then the US FDA had to withdraw it back. Yeah, so it's a difficult place. Krishna, to you. So we've seen the kind of deterrents to shift from generics to innovator. You work with innovators. What are the missing gaps?
It's a completely different financing model. As much as you like to believe, the stereotype is very different, right? Here, the people live science. They're not really worried about P&L for all practical purposes. The basic scientists are only measured based on what are their cure, they're enamored by their science. So in a way, that financing model depends from scale, having enough, like 100 shots on goal, you get one. So if you look at let's take a basic step back, right? Let's forget biologics, let's forget everything else. Let's take small molecule itself as an area. If you look at any small molecule biotech in the US, there's so many companies being funded by much smarter people than us. Then the fraction of those making it are very few to the top. So the problem is, so far, our ecosystem is so tiny, you won't have 10 companies making a molecule. You're going to need 1,000, 2,000 really get that scale. So what Jasti is saying, what everybody else is saying is that we don't have the economy of scale of that many programs going, or the financing mechanism. China started financing from universities. It's not like any other place else. If you look at US, it came from NIH, and people wrote off that. So unless you have the basic volume of work, it's very hard to say you can become innovative, because you will fail more than succeed. And the biggest question becomes is what is going to force you to change that ecosystem. Let's forget about the generic to innovative. That's a completely different ballgame. That transition will not happen. They're two different industries. You don't see US generic companies doing innovation.
No,
right?
you don't. Yeah.
So you don't expect Indian generic companies to do innovation. The question is, what is the Indian government doing for innovation? Is a bigger question. Is there venture capital willing to come into India and evaluate, just like you're talking about a pool of capital, to start incubating ideas? Our academic institutions go from to true science versus just repeating science? So these are all much more fundamental questions than anything else, to be honest. And I don't think we should ever ask a generic company, are you going to become an innovative company? The problem is a very different statement, to be honest.
Right. Manni, you wanted to say something about this, the wave shifting? Was that?
Not only, I wanted to actually go back to, and I agree with both of them about, a generic company doing innovation. I don't think is going to happen. But I have a different perspective that, and we talked about China doing so well. And one of the reasons I think China did well is, of course, they brought a lot of scientists back. But that they might have brought back 4,000, 5,000 scientists. But I think China did extremely well working with innovators through services,
Exactly.
through this kind of work we do, Sai and Aragen do. And we know how a Roche is discovering a drug, or a Genentech is discovering a drug, or a Novartis is discovering a drug. We know their systems, processes, because we work with them on a day-to-day basis. And now we may not be the innovators, but we are working with them. We understand a lot. And now you do this for 10 years, 15 years, and you'll have a few smart people getting out and saying, okay, now I think I've done this enough. I think I can start my own innovation engine, get some ideas, get some funding, get some investors to invest in them. And that's how the ecosystem builds. So I think you need to do it. You need to go through that journey. Just like in the IT industry, I draw parallels from the IT industry, where, we started doing this in the late 90s or early 90s. And now we have the Flipkarts of the world and the Swiggies of the world, and, that have created so much value. So I think this is naturally going to happen. And that's why I keep emphasizing to the governments that when you think of pharma in India, they typically think of generics, right? It's a pharmacy of the world. They started thinking of vaccines now, because so many vaccines are being made in India. And I'm emphasizing make CRDMOs the third wheel of pharma in India. And, we formed an association, and we are trying to get that word out there, that's why CRDMOs are so important. If you really want to go to innovation, of course, CRDMOs creates a lot of jobs, a lot of innovation, and a lot of profits, valuations, all of that is there. But also, if you really want to go to innovation, go through that route of CRDMOs. And that's why it's important for the country. And they have to pass policies to benefit the CRDMO industry so that this industry can thrive. We are still very tiny. We are 1/10 of China in CRDMO.
Right.
Let us first get there, and then you can start seeing the innovation that China is also showing.
Right. Within the group, Cytiva actually does an annual study of bioresearch, where countries are standing. And there, one thing was notable about how Korea actually leaped from 9th to 3rd. India also did quite well. But any lessons from the Korean examples, if you all want to share anything from you, Krishna or Manni?
First of all, it is the funding, it is the government involvement, and bringing back their talent from US and giving them the free hand and labs and money and to innovate. That's the way it's happening. But here, nothing that kind of thing is happening. Whatever that are there are taken away, as a matter of fact. All the regulatory impediments are still there. The only way that can happen is people like us who are in the innovation supply chain or R&D or manufacturing, whatever it is, eventually with all the learnings which we are going to do, with the same innovators, we can become a collaborator. That is the way it will happen. I mean, it happened to me way back in 2006 itself with Eli Lilly. Their compound I used to develop, but unfortunately because of the 2010 debacle in the pharmaceutical industry, everything gone down. Since that time, the attrition in CNS is also gone down. But eventually, I think these are the things that will come down when D is the only thing that the big global pharma will be looking at it. And the R will come to India in a collaborative model where you have the milestone payments and other payments will also come. That is the valuation that will come. I think that's what I see within the next 5 to 10 years. What do you think?
I completely agree with both Manni and your point. I think it's a question of getting that. I think I agree with both of them. I think it's a question of getting critical mass that comes from the CRO setting. I think it's a question of the government support. And I think that goes back to Manni's point on the organization. Just even recognizing this industry and supporting is very important because no company can do it by itself. It's just the direction of the country as a whole and collaboration as well, right? Both when your services, you're collaborating with customers because they want you to get better because they want to get faster. Like Jasti said before, it's all about speed.
Right.
So collaborators want you to get better because you want to go faster in this space. So,
Right.
And I think as long as as the government itself recognizes the industry, takes the right measures, I think opportunity is very significant, and we shouldn't be missing it. I think it's just a question of organizing our priorities as a government at this point.
So it's very clearly seen that startups probably will be the source of new innovation. Is that the right interpretation? Do you think that will
Startups can be the innovation because they will have the mindset, because they don't have any generic mindset there to start with. But where is the money? Where is the ecosystem? Where is the talent pool?
But sir, now a lot of powerful tools have come in. I mean, Danaher itself has a lot of mechanisms in which products can be accelerated. AI is being seen as a big disruptor.
We agree with all that stuff. As Prasad was telling you, still the input from the people is important to use those machines. But I'm not talking about that part. First of all, that is also lacking. The talent, we have number of people, no doubt about it. But the talented people in the core areas, how many are there? And then the funding, where is the funding coming from? Without the funding, you just can't have a SciX machine and do this, a $2 million machine and all that stuff. So you have to have funding. So the people who are coming into the innovation, incubation hubs or whatever you can call it, they can bring the innovation provided the government support is there, regulatory support is there, and ultimately the investor support and the risk funding. All these things will make it happen. Otherwise, it's one man's game or somebody, and will be there like that unless the collaboration comes from the innovator themselves.
Right. I want to comment a little about the AI piece. I think let's not overplay the AI hand. If you look at the history of life sciences, we've gone through so many eureka moments: high throughput experimentation, high throughput screening, biostructural, whatever. We've learned more, computational chemistry. We've learned more, but the problems have also gotten bigger. The existing drugs have gotten better, so your goalposts have changed. So I think all AI is doing is giving you a greater opportunity, but even the complexity of what you're going after is going up significantly as well. So I think we have to really look at AI as a tool in the toolbox. Not there's no magic bullet that's going to give you that drug which is going to work. And if you look at the history of AI companies so far in the last 3 years, all the drugs they put out have been crappy.
Yeah.
So let's not get ahead of ourselves right now. I think we're kind of overstating the impact of AI.
Yeah.
I just want to take a dial back on at least the drug discovery angle. Application angles elsewhere are there, but drug discovery itself, we should kind of say is one more tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Like Prasad says, a force multiplier, but not the cure.
In fact, I read about a similar AI story about de novo drug design, and 2 companies were actually identified where they were saying that they have the entire data based on which they will be taking a leap into a new drug. It turned out that all of that was actually not right. So it was very incremental. There was nothing new to be shown. So I agree with you on the AI side. It's probably a little bit of a bubble happening. A lot of people have started talking about it. But again, so, purely from a CRDMO perspective, the name keeps getting bigger. I hope it stops there. So from CRAMS to CDMO to CRDMO. So what's the future for CRDMOs?
I mean, being in the industry, obviously, I'll be biased, but I think there's a fantastic future. I think, we've done an analysis this year. All CRDMOs in India put together are about 3.5 billion. China is about 30 billion. So there's a huge potential. BCG did an analysis and they said that these companies in India can, in the next 10 years, reach about 20 billion. Okay, if we did things right, but it's not going to happen just because the opportunity is there. We have to do a lot of things. We have to, get into newer modalities. We have to invest. We have to uplift the talent. We have to, of course, put the facilities. There's a lot to improve the supply chains. So there's a lot to do, and that's one of the things that this organization of CRDMOs is now focused on, and we are pushing those agenda. And of course, we have policy changes that needs to benefit the CRDMO, because the policies are so focused on generics. They have to make some tweaks. I'm not saying they have to rewrite everything, but some changes can benefit the CRDMO industry tremendously.
Right.
And that's what we are working towards.
Right. Sir?
Actually, a CRDMO industry can become an innovative industry, provided the government gives good support, both in terms of the infrastructure and not technology, but in terms of the regulatory requirements, and some mindset change from our players ourselves, actively seeking the collaborations to do the value addition. And that means when the regulatory system is here, we can ask for even biological based activities much more here, and the clinical trials can be done here, not just doing R&D and doing the manufacturing. These things, I think it will come. I think somebody has to tell the government about what they're saying is this.
Sir,
but you're telling
we
the
don't
government,
have-
nobody's
yeah.
listening. That's a problem.
we
Nobody is listening.
will do the bridging. But sir,
We have
something.
been doing this from 20 years. You know
Yeah,
that, right?
we've been.
BDMA
It's slow
days.
moving, but yes, we have to live on hopes. Yeah. No, but sir, again, the question is, you said a lot of good things, then you sold.
I sold because my passion is to do I want to
other
bring
side.
a molecule out of India. And I cannot manage both these things.
Yeah, true.
One thing. The second thing is I need money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, who is going to fund? I told you, until now, I had to fund myself all these years.
True.
And so I need money. So instead of being part and their part here, I said, let me do it before I go down. So that's why I sold the thing, and I concentrated on this, and hope something will happen in 27.
In 2027? Oh, that's great. You are already giving a good hint. So,
You know that we have a couple of phase 3 compounds,
Yeah.
a couple of phase 2 compounds, and globally doing in the agitation and aggression in Alzheimer's, in the narcolepsy, and the major depressive disorder, and the ADHD. These things are all there. But as you know, you have to take a pinch of salt. Whenever my customers ask me after the results, I'm here only to write the checks, not to write any revenue here, because we don't have any revenue. We don't have a model also. And Prasad was asking CNS models. Actually, that is the only revenue I had. I have each and every disease CNS models in-house. I even do it for the innovators. But it's a long drawn and very small volume. That's the reason why I do it is because when they see my data, which I do it for them, it gives me the validation of my research when it comes to the phase 3 levels and phase 2 levels. Unfortunately, being a CNS, nobody wants to touch you with a pole wall pole until you finish phase 3. Only NDA stage they will come to you because that's kind of a 99%
that's
attrition
the most
rate.
difficult part in India. Market doesn't really give you a valuation for pipeline drugs. It's almost a couple of setbacks. Yes, especially in your territory. It's very, very difficult. So that's again a mind, because in US, I think it's, if you are actually in advanced stages, then you have a lot of valuation attached to
Yeah,
your.
but US also has, they have a different mindset. The same people who has the funding done in USA, when they come and set up shop in India, they said they don't want to fund any innovation, they only fund the generics. That's the kind of mindset. And until you have one success from this country, I think then things will move much, much faster, and people also moves, and hopefully government also moves in the same direction.
Right. Krishna, your point.
Look, I think Manni's point, I just want to go back to the CRDM opportunity, right? I think we're underestimating the opportunity of CRDM now. I think what is shifted right now, I think a window of opportunity has opened up where India, for all practical purposes, was looked as a tactical second supplier, where people are seriously willing to give India an opportunity to be a strategic supplier.
Oh.
That means that you're much more integrated their thought processes, you much better understand what they're doing. So I think if we can use these couple of windows to really focus on trying to get better, and that's culture change. And also I think markets think that CRM is going to keep making money, but the reality is that if we have to say, make the transition from small molecule to biology to biologics, is actually the investment period. So the reality is, if they look at the next 2 quarters, 3 quarters, you're going to miss the opportunity in 5 years. So the question is, how do you move the market, even from a CRDMO standpoint? Look at what we are doing, how are we relevant in 5 years? Then the conversation is very different. But if the conversation is about what we look at next quarter, then you're going to be dead in 5 years. So this window has to be looked at with a different lens. And can we educate the market and ourselves that we have to think differently to be relevant? But the window is wide open right now. And it all comes to how we do it.
Great. So most of the comments that I've heard is probably going a little, on a conservative side, that, okay, it will be small molecules versus the new modalities, the lack of risk capital, and so the lack of, taking the risks of moving into the innovation side. So my last round will be very quick 2 points from each of you, very short responses. If you had the powers to really change 2 things, what would those be? To help innovation, to really grow this ecosystem of research, new research.
Well, if I had the powers, I would, invite, more risk capital into this domain of innovation. I don't know how I would do it, but if I had the powers, I would do it. And the second thing I would do is change some government policies to support the innovation, like clinical trials and working with hospitals and things like that here in India, doing tox studies here, various things like that. Perfect. So those would be the 2 things.
Sure, sir.
First of all, there should be a mindset change from people who wants to invest, people who wants to do the research. And the second thing is the risk capital is a must. The third thing is regulatory regime, which is a proactive for the quickness with which you can do. Not only that helps you, and also helps your partner who is going to come and collaborate with you, either in the CRDMO section or in the full-fledged clinical trial or drug discovery program itself.
Got it. Sir.
Maybe just to be a little more narrow, because we talked about these issues, I think the 2 key limitations right now is our understanding of disease biology. I think India has not done a very good job in terms of creating a volume of understanding of disease biology to go after targets. Brilliant. And 2, the clinical trial regulation, if I'm right. How quickly can we do translational studies? I think that is a core limitation. Unless those 2 aspects are fixed, they become the bottleneck for everything else. You have fund, you can have everything, but those would be the 2 technical areas I would look at to fix before you really can do anything else on discovery.
Cool.
It's a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
Whether you have this or you don't have it. You don't have the talent, you can't start it. If you have the talent, you don't have the money. What do you do?
Absolutely. So your 0 to 1 journey we'll be all watching till 2027.
0. As of now, 0.
No. Cool. Okay. So I'll toss it across to the room. One question that is just room for one because we are almost exceeding the time. Yeah. Any questions? You will not get an opportunity. All three of them are right here. So
you started this CRDMO association last year. I think we wish to see more traction and get more positioning globally, not in India. So I wish to see that soon.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
The Ushi and the Lonza and
Yeah, absolutely. I think you will. I think it's been a little slow to take off. The whole registration process has taken us 5 months. Can you believe it? So now we are there, and I think you'll start seeing a lot more activity. But behind the scenes, we've been doing work. Now there are multiple subgroups formed below this. There's a supply chain subgroup, an HR subgroup, a government affairs subgroup. They're all working. So you'll see a lot more action coming through.
I'm glad you asked that question. That was one of those points that I had actually taken. So how are the collaborations happening within
He's
the
the president's talking for me, so he's our president, so I'll go with him.
Right. One last, from you. They wouldn't be able to hear you. Yeah, one second.
My question is related to the AI and ML, which is upcoming. And from a CRO point of view, innovation, of course, there are scopes using the AI and ML. But from CRDMO point of view, where do you think, as a country, India is standing, and how best can we, utilize it? It's early in the game now, so this is the right time to make use of it. And how much do you think, as a country, we can utilize, especially from drug discovery and CRDMO point of view?
That's a very tricky question, right? AML itself is a great tool, but the question is the input data is a question. If you go back and look at, as a CRDMO, we cannot use the customer data. We have to self-generate data. And most of the generally available data in the market is not good enough. So if you look at most companies are doing right now who are really want to be serious players are generating their own data. And I don't think as a CRO right now, we have the bandwidth to start generating that data. I think we can do some retrosynthesis tools, some elements, but how far we can go is limited just because of the time and the cost. But Manni might have a much better handle on than I do.
I think I agree mostly, but I think to make ourselves more efficient, we can use AI a lot. For example, there are tools now, when you're making complex molecules, the AI can tell you how to synthesize the molecule. And it'll give you 3 or 4 routes. Of course, human intelligence has to come in and decide which of those routes you're going to try out, but there are enough tools out there. And at Aragen, we have implemented such a tool to make our scientists more productive. So it's a productivity, thing of how you can do some more digital work and automation, say in biology, to run assays faster. These kinds of things I think we can do. Certainly we can use the digital, and it's not AI, but digital tools, and then on top of that, some AI tools. But I agree with him that the issue for us, for example, at Aragen, we synthesize about 80,000 novel molecules a year for our partners. But we can't use that data. But it's so rich because we have all the failure data, we have all the success data, and if you can just put it into a tool, then we can build models on top of it that can help us make better new molecules. But we can't use that data. And every year we make so many molecules, so we collect so much of data, but we can't use it.
This is a little of a selfish question. As a technology tool provider, whether it's analytical tools or assays, reagents, or software, what are the biggest frustrations that you have? And this is an industry question. How can we as Danaher, you can bring thermal, you can bring waters, you can bring Agilent, bring anybody into that. What can we do different to basically help you accelerate what you're doing?
I can take. So first of all, a small plug for you guys. We just put up our new biologics manufacturing facility, and it's all Cytiva and Danaher all through. So, but I think integrating the systems there and making them more digital for everything. For example, our quality management system. Can that be out of the box digital? So people have to use only the quality digital systems for their batch manufacturing records. Things like. If you can get to that level, I think, out of the box, it comes, right? And especially, I think, India, if it has to move to the next level, the quality systems in India, and India has a bad reputation about, data integrity and things like that overall as a country. So if we could do more and more on the quality side of things that are digital quality, from LIMS systems to electronic batch manufacturing records, both for small molecules or biologics, that would be a great benefit.
I would just kind of a little bit take a different position than what Manni is taking. I think if you become too rigid in what you're doing from your systems and your compliance, it's going to be a problem, because I think more and more companies right now, what they have learned is that by having different systems talk to each other, they actually have more limitations than anything else, data transfer. So more and more people are trying to build in-house systems and see how systems interface with their in-house manufacturing systems. So I think I would kind of a little bit be careful about how far we go. Digital enablement is going to be a key aspect. I think what is definitely changing, which was not in the past, is the service level accessibility. What's been problematic in India specifically, especially when you go to newer technologies, it's just the service level has not been there in terms of delay and cycle time. I think just getting the service level for you also is hard, right? Because this is a new industry, is growing, so you also have to invest in it. So I think it's that part of it, which is, I would say, a challenge for us much more at the microscopic level than anything else.
Actually, I have a suggestion. You should have a Danaher incubation center where all kinds of your equipment will be staged, not by a company. I mean, you have portfolio companies, all companies, things can be there, and people can come and work and do this, and if they cannot solve, and you can take it to your global peers and give them these solutions.
Superb. Wonderful. I think that's a great suggestion to, yeah. So are there a few questions that can be taken? Yeah, we are already a little...
This is very simple and straightforward question for Venkat sir. So let's say we are considering 2027, we are going to see something new. So what it could be? It could be small molecule or biologic.
Either company stays or closes. If you have a success, people will put money to it. If they don't have, nothing. Because right now, I said it's 0, but 27 we'll know whether it is 0 or 1.
So this is exactly what Albert Bourla also said after he acquired the Metsera deal happened for 10 billion. Somebody asked him, what if it fails? He says, if it fails, we have overpaid. If it succeeds, you'll again come back to me. So, wonderful. Thank you so much.